Ahoy, hoy, friends, and welcome to the Salon. So happy to have you all here. We are going to be talking about the 6th episode of Star Trek Lower Deck Season 5, and we will be discussing a fun little independent project that came about this week on the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Generations, the first Trek film that I saw in the theaters. Delightful as always to revisit that film. So we are going to get into it. But in order for me to get into it, I need a crew to get into it. So let's get into it. My co-host Trevor, how are you?
Just delightful. How are you?
Always. And is that Nana Rita that I see in your hand?
Well, yes, it is. Courtesy
Delicious.
of the non-visitor herself. Well, the recipe's great. She's not like in my kitchen making them. But
yeah, we'll see her later, just bringing out more drinks.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. She's not here to be a part of the salon. She's just making delicious margaritas.
It's a little too Andy Cohen, but I love it.
Yeah. Speaking of delicious margaritas, Benji.
What does that have to do with any?
I don't know. I'm bad at segues. We know this.
Yeah. Okay. Hello. Hi. It's me. I'm rocking some low-key pike tonight, as I like to call it, also known as a bathrobe.
Speaking of bathrobes, here's Ken.
I was in my bathrobe earlier today.
Unfortunately,
I'm not now. For everybody involved, I'm not in my bathroom now. But non-visitor is in my kitchen. But we'll keep that quiet. How's everybody doing?
Here's Will. Will, how are you?
I'm fine. I love an abrupt entrance.
Yes.
You know.
And speaking of abrupt, that's it. It's all dudes tonight.
A lot of carrots in this soup.
What was that, Will?
A lot of carrots in this soup.
Yes. Yes, indeed. It's true.
And matzo balls, too.
And just for funsies, reminds me of this again.
Give me the bag.
The best thing ever. This is a visual medium for just a minute. If you're listening to this later, come to YouTube and watch this moment on the screen, because there is a delightful tweet put up for all of the gags. Speaking of gags, there was a fun, I don't know how to segue into this. Let's talk about this AI thing that they did this week. There was a fun project put out by the Roddenberry Institute, or whatever they're called. Thank you, the Archive. They've got a lot of really cool projects on their website, and this week they decided to show us, I think, Kirk dying. Lots of AI, lots of interesting bits. I love seeing Robin Curtis, and I will end it there because I'm not trying to yuck everybody else's yum. But if you want my attention, using AI and de-aging people rather than recasting, especially when, like with, spoiler alert, in The Mandalorian, the Luke Skywalker actor looked so much like the damn character that they could have just used him. It's not going to work for me, but it works for other people. And so with that, I'll shut up. Who wants to talk about it? Ken gets to go last because he's our tosser.
I thought it was cool. The visuals were nice. I thought it was a little saccharine. That's my thought on it. It's a little too like it's a little, I get it. They kind of gave Kirk a more fitting death. And like there's some cool references in it. Like there's fun Easter eggs, like Robin Curtis being back, like some of the implied things that are going on. And it was just a little too schmaltzy, but again, it was fine. But the de-aging thing was weird, and it's like, why doesn't? Because what was it? Was it an actor playing? I didn't look at it. I watched it once and moved on. It was an actor playing Kirk, right? It wasn't actually okay. I figured, because isn't Bill Shatner like 90 years old now? But like they could have had him say a few lines, something. Him just not saying anything. It got a little I got a little bored. But other than that, it was fine. It was fine. The other stuff was cool. The visual stuff is cool. But it's just a little too schmaltzy for me.
Yeah, I think like that AI stuff, like anytime you see like an AI video, if you've ever seen like these creepy AI YouTube videos and stuff, the AI characters are always just like staring with these dead eyes, like kind of motionless, but the camera's kind of moving. It's really uncanny valley stuff. It's creepy. I think it still would have been fairly creepy even if they had used regular actors. It's like you said, I felt it was pretty saccharine, I guess, like God, that's both the characters. I actually found myself sort of like feeling Data's death scene in Picard when he was holding his hand. Like that was sort of like, I don't know if there was like an intentional duality there or something. But I found I had like more questions than anything else. Like, who are all of the villagers in pastels that are meeting him?
Where was
I would
Bones?
guess that there's like a lot of biblical references in here that I don't know anything about. The guy in the Starfleet dress uniform and like the insurrection era uniform was named Crusher. So I don't know if which Crusher he's supposed to be. Is it Wesley? Also, we have like three timey-wimey people in there. Like there's Gary Mitchell. I don't know what he was doing there. There's Crewman Yor, and there was Crusher. So it seemed like Yor was the one who brought them together. I don't know. Or was it all three of them who just wanted them to have a sweet goodbye? Very odd. I also didn't know who the person with Savick was, who's like the other Vulcan guy who seemed to know Kirk. His name was Sorak. I have no idea who that is. I don't know, maybe it's somebody that I don't know about.
Apparently their child, right? It's Savick and Spock's child.
Savick and Spock's son. Yeah, because in the
That's
original,
correct.
What?
in the
From
original
Star Trek 3.
in the original voyage home, when we see Savick remain on Vulcan when the bounty goes back to Earth.
Okay.
The original script was that she was staying behind on Vulcan because she was pregnant.
Oh,
Because there was no reason for her to stay behind otherwise.
I mean, you got two Vulcans together.
Yeah.
Well, and he was
so it was like when they were okay.
Yeah.
He was also a child. So
Yeah.
let's point that out.
Yeah.
It's
I
a
mean,
little
anytime you have like a female character, she's got to get pregnant because that's the only thing that they do with them. And they overstuffed Kirk's shirt, and he looks like a giant baby. I just had to say that. Okay, I'm done.
I will. Oh God, do I want to do the negative first? Let me do the negative last, and then Ken can like round it out with some positive. So my positives were it's gorgeous. The AI thing is weird for me, but it was well done for what it was. It was either too long or lacked dialogue. Like the fact that it was completely silent would have been fine had it been shorter. But if it's going to be that long, there should have been at least a line of dialogue somewhere. It just felt weird. Like I was like, what am I watching, and why do I feel like I need drugs for this? And also giving us people that we very clearly could identify, but then a bunch of people we couldn't at all, and not giving us David was weird. Or Bones or whatever. Like, but also, were they dead or was he actually being reanimated? I don't know. Like, I was confused. I don't quite understand the meaning. My issue is actually much more like I have a really weird emotional reaction to this because Leonard Nimoy made it very clear that he wanted nothing to do with William Shatner for about the last year of his life. And I realize this is not a Shatner project and I'm not like shatting on the Shat, but Shatner was a contributor to this in a creative sense. And like just the whole idea of like, oh, you didn't want this person around you, so we're going to put the two characters together and put them one on the other's deathbed when the person playing the dying person never wanted to be with the person that's playing the person on his deathbed. Like it's creepy to me in a way that I can't articulate, but like respect people's fucking dying wishes and leave them alone is my position. And see.
My turn. Okay. So I thought that this was amazing. And there's a lot of hidden meanings in it. It was a lot of AI, but it also was a lot of actual acting. Sam Witwer played Kirk, and they used actual prosthetics as well as digital prosthetics to make it work. There is a ton of things that I get, and there's some things that I don't. You know, I do hear what you're saying, Trev, about the break between Nimoy and Shatner, but I think that you got to think about this as Kirk and Spock. And you also have to, and from a Nimoy standpoint, Nimoy's widow was one of the executive producers, and they did this completely with the Nimoy estate and family's blessing. From the point of view of what they were trying to do, there's so much symbolism here. Yes, it was Spock and Savik's child, baby, son. It was an homage in a big way to 2001: A Space Odyssey, which having Gary Lockwood there at the beginning, playing Gary Mitchell, almost served double meaning, with it being very much the final scene of 2001, with Pierre Doulay's character Bowman sort of seeing himself in the bedroom, and that whole sequence. It's very, very similar in layout. The concept of that the Discovery person had to transport Kirk's soul, in theory, to the Kelvin universe, because Spock died in the Kelvin universe, and you see on the bed the book that is delivered to Zachary Quinto's Spock in Star Trek Beyond. I also read that first of all, the scene that you were talking about, Benji, where they are holding hands and lying on the bed, is almost a shot-by-shot recreation of this simple feeling scene from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, which I thought was great. I've read some commentary that the sunrise that they were looking at was actually somehow V'ger. I don't know exactly how that works, but it was V'ger, V'ger with the next, the birth of a new baby kind of thing that McCoy says. I was upset that they didn't fit in McCoy at all. They should have. That seems like a massive oversight. I suppose it's possible that they had a challenge with DeForest Kelly's estate or something like that. I don't know, but that was a big oversight. I also agree that David would have made a lot of sense. Again, maybe they had challenges with Merrick Buttrick's estate. Who knows? But I thought it was incredibly well done. I have to admit that I've watched it a dozen times at this point, and it's very emotional for me. I think it's very emotional for a lot of tossers, as we call them. It is the finale between Kirk and Spock that we never got to see. It is, the question I have now is, it's the Roddenberry Archives. It's CBS approved. It's got all of the nomenclature of everything. But the question really is this canon? And it might be canon. So we shall see.
I think of it as sort of like a licensed property, like some other things like comic books and like how TAS was for a while considered, although now it's considered canon. But yeah.
Yeah. So I really loved it. I found it very emotional. It was nice to meet. Everyone knows that who's longtime Salon fans or even short-time Salon fans knows that I'm a TOS person. I love seeing Captain Kirk, played by Shatner, back one more time, and I really enjoyed it very much. So it was a really nice emotional thing to send up, and in looking at all of my the TOS era fans, a lot of them are very much saying the same thing, that it was super emotional for them. And it was just nice to see see the sort of capstone to the Shatner Kirk character after 30 years. And that's my scene.
He's dead, Ken. And with that, we move forward. Thank you all very much. And now
Wait,
it's
before
time
we
to
do, wait, before we do, that was all just one big tosser alert, right?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that was one big
Like, I'm not
topic.
counting them. I'm just counting that as one.
Yeah.
One, sure.
Okay.
There you go. There's the banner.
Ta-da. Thank you.
All right, y'all. Let's talk about Star Trek Lower Decks.
What about setting an intention? Do we set an intention?
He's building. He's building.
Oh, he's building to an intention. I ruined it again. I'm so sorry.
I give Ken just a little bit of leeway. All right, go ahead and hit that mute button. Thank you. Let's talk about Star Trek Lower Decks. But before we do, we simply must, as always, and I will always remember to do, because I'm good at my job, set an intention.
I'm drunk.
Indeed, we must. So, to set an intention tonight, in honor of Boymes and his quest for a nickname, I just want to go around the room very quickly and have all of you identify Dr. Ta'ana's nickname for each of you. I, as always, will start us off by sharing that Dr. Ta'ana's nickname for me is also Will's nickname for me. So they both refer to me, or at least have on at least one episode, as you bald ass bitch. And I wear it with pride, and I'm going to have a t-shirt made, and it's going to have Will saying it on one end and Ta'ana saying it on the other, and they're just screaming at me in the middle, and I love it, and I'm making it happen. So that's mine. Will, my dear, what is yours?
Oh, we already know what it's going to be.
Say it.
Hey, faggot.
Yep. I called it. I said
You knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. I have an
Girl,
alternative.
you gave yours away decades ago.
And I'm still trying to get it back.
Oh, well.
Good luck.
Anyway, that's it. Easy.
That's all she got. Benji, my love.
I'm going with Scarface because my work cat fucking took a chunk out of my face today. So I am not having it with the kitties today. So I have two little red marks that you can't see in my face from that little "see you next Tuesday." So that's my nickname today.
She didn't mean.
Don't trust that pussy. As well.
Ken, you may now come off of mute and share your response to the question that has been posed before.
It's the intention setter, just so you know. That's what we're doing right now.
I'm thinking that maybe Stan, you can give the nickname because you have.
No, you're not.
Thinking, all right, so
you're not squirming out of it.
I think that she would probably just call me fucktard.
Jesus.
All right.
Surprise! But it would
Moving
be
on.
It'd be
Stanley.
Fucktard, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say faggot as well because I think Dr. Ta'ana can say it, but I think she'd probably around other people because she knows she'd be a little more subtle and she would call me fuck it. As like a subtle, like it's her way of saying faggot, but not actually saying it around other people.
It's like no, I was gonna say it's work appropriate and it really isn't, but whatever.
Hey, fuck it, here's your hyper spray.
I love them all.
Yeah. And that was a delightful intention setter, as always, Trevor. All right, y'all.
Okay.
Again, if you don't, I swear to God. Drink some water, boo. With that, let's get into this week's episode, the 6th in sadly final season of Star Trek Lower Decks. Let's share our top thoughts. I really enjoyed this episode, although I will say, knowing that this is the final season, I'm a little worried, not worried. There were great character moments in this episode that will work anywhere. So that they didn't tie in, so far as we know, and it wasn't very obvious, the season-long stuff with the space holes and whatever's going on with those other dimensions. This episode felt almost like last week. We could potentially consider it filler, but there's a lot of really good fun gags in here. I love seeing Mariner see a different kind of version of herself, somebody who just needs someone to believe in them. You know, this Ensign Ollie was forced out of engineering, which is where she clearly should be. And so, of course, she's not going to thrive just doing random shit when she's a talented engineer and you're not letting her do that. The Boimler and Ta'ana stuff was fun, although I will say I again, this being the last season, I really hope we get Boimler coming into his own, because this season, relying on that alternate, slightly larger pad for information rather than being himself, is a little bit of a bummer for me. And it's a fun gag, and I love what they're doing with his facial hair. Very similar to mine. When I shave this beard off, it takes forever to come back in. So it is super fun, but what else was I gonna say? Oh, also, very pretty. I loved, like, this is gonna sound like I'm high. I loved all the colors. I just love seeing Ensign Ollie go all Dark Phoenix on us. I love the orbs and the cubes shooting at each other. It was very pretty. And when they became giant cubes and orbs and they're not very creative with it, that got me. It was super fun. So those are my top thoughts. Let me turn it over to Ken as I bring in some additional top thoughts for later with Matt.
There he is. So I was going to say not very creative. That was one of my favorite lines. They're not very creative. And my tosser head went to, oh, it's like the Fisarius versus a Borg cube. But anyway, I thought it was actually it was a great episode. Again, they're, like they have the last few times, they're just leaning into the animation of it all, which I really, really loved. All of the hijinks between talking about edges. Do you know how many edges there are on a starship? It's one of the best lines. So they just had so much fun with this episode. And it was interesting that they talked about Zeus and not Apollo, which was kind of cool. That apparently, they just had all these other godlike creatures, and it was the reference, didn't Kirk send them onto the wind? Of course, it was nice to hear the toss out to Kirk and the reference to who mourns for Adonais, which is a difficult episode to pronounce. Yeah, I thought overall it was really, really cool. It's nice to see the Cerritos get the shit beat out of it again. So that's always fun. And it's nice to see everybody getting their crap beat out of them except for Mariner. And, it's sometimes you just need a lightning bolt up the ass. That's all I got to say. So, yeah, that's my top thoughts. Benji.
Sure. Well, I definitely thought it was a very grim but hopeful metaphor for our current time, as Star Trek often should be. If only cubes and orbs could just get along, and have weird little cube orb babies, then the world would be a better place. Yeah, I think it was definitely like the weakest episode of the season so far. I'm hoping it'll pick up. Usually, like they close out the season with like 2 real bangers. But my feeling with Lower Decks and like with most Star Trek, just because they pretty well always get the fundamentals right. Like the writing is always still good. The pacing is always perfect. so it's still like, well, at least you still get to watch Star Trek, and it's still really good. So that's my feeling about it. Like the weakest one, but always enjoyable, funny, great to watch. That's all I got.
I'll go next because Matt dropped in then disappeared. This was fine. I mean, there were some funny bits in it and some funny jokes. Like the photonic aliens were kind of cool, and like there's some fun bits in it. It reminds me of like those mid-season TNG bottleneck episodes where it's like a plot, weird alien diplomacy thing, crewman does something stupid. Like there's that kind of like those bottleneck episodes, and it all kind of ends in one spot. Felt very much like that, which to try and replicate kind of an old form in like what is ostensibly a new show and like animated and do it in 30 minutes is a testament to good writing. But it does feel like an episode that would be on like if we got like a season 7 or 8 of this show. Like it feels a little, the writing seemed a little old hat for a show that hasn't even had 100 episodes. So that's my point on it. I thought it was fine. The character growth stuff's fun. Everyone got nice little moments to shine. It's a strong writing, but I don't think as we are in the season, it's a standout. Trevor or Matt, whoever wants to go. I'm just the meat in this weird little sandwich.
It
Matt.
is a strange sandwich indeed. Matt, you go first, and if you have an answer to the intention setter, you can share it, which is what is Dr. Ta'ana's nickname for you?
I think everyone knows Dr. Ta'ana's nickname for me.
Little bitch.
Bottom. She would.
And
she would use it with a hard R somehow. Like there's no R in it, but she would use it like with that in it, and
like
I respect her. Yeah.
Meowed and yeah.
Exactly, and that's and I also apologize. I'm having a lot of technical tonight. Is not a technical night, so I apologize. I was off for a second.
You're good. But take us through your bottom thoughts.
Or my top thoughts, THOTS. I actually thought it was a really fun, good, like, I'm not gonna call it meaty episode because I don't know if it was meaty, but it was like a good like mid-season episode. Like if we saw this mid-season TNG 1 through 3, I think we would be like, yeah, that was, remember that one with the spheres and the boxes, like that was fun. I liked that they gave the parallel to Mariner, but like even she was like, oh, like I thought I had grown to realize, but I also didn't grow enough to realize that there are other like it was a good progress story for her. I thought it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Nothing stood out. It was a good episode. It was just fun, and I think that's my top thought. I did love any ship thing, give me that. But yeah, it was fun. It's fun.
Was it fun?
It was fun.
Okay, I just want to check.
It was also fun.
My top thoughts are as follows. No, I kind of agree with what everyone is saying. This one was. I normally laugh out loud during Lower Decks, and I did not. I chuckled. There was some shoulder motion going on during these chuckles, but I did not guffaw as I normally do during an episode of Lower Decks. I did particularly enjoy one thing that nobody mentioned that I just wanted to call out was that I loved more and more. We've seen the progression of Captain Freeman in terms of like being a capable and competent and quite skilled captain, and her evolution all the way from season 1, episode 1 up until now, like her sort of being the comic straight man in this episode really worked for me in terms of just being, she was the sitcom character surrounded by buffoonery, and she just seemed to be navigating it, and I particularly enjoyed that just because I love the character. And she's, if we ever get post season 5 live action Lower Decks characters, I hope that there's, even if it's a cameo, I don't care. I would love to see Captain Freeman in live action. So I enjoyed it for all of that. The the cubes and the spheres, yes, I loved all of the corners or rounded jokes. Like those were fantastic, and just the silliness of it all, and them uniting to become one giant cube and one giant sphere, and that they're not creative was hilarious. It felt very Outrageous Okana with the two planets that were kind of warring against each other, and it's like, well, what's actually different about these people, like other than something very subtle? And while there wasn't, well, there was a baby in the end, it just hadn't been born yet. So it had Outrageous Okana vibes, which is delightful, because that's an episode that as a kid I thought was like kind of weird and awful, and I love that I still think that as an adult. So yeah, all in all, it brought back fun TNG season 2 memories and was silly. I liked the Mariner becoming the mentor to basically herself. Loved the TOS reference. I'll give myself the tosser alert. Loved the TOS tie-in with the demigods, and the fact that she can't remove the laurel is hilarious. But yeah, it was not laugh out loud, but it was enjoyable, as most Lower Decks episodes are.
Yeah, and I'm gonna here is your tosser alert, and I will leave it up. Well, no, I'll give myself one, because the sphere versus the cube, it felt very, but he's black on the right side to me, but it worked in a fun way. It was delightful. Matt?
Before we move on, I have to also call out the tosser real quick, because I did hear in my headphones when I was having the technical difficulties. Who mourns for Adonis?
Not Adonis.
Does
Isn't
anybody
it?
know how to say it? Really, for real?
Adonais.
It's Adonais. Adonais.
Are you
Not
sure?
Adonis. Yeah.
Rock me Adonais. No.
You were telling me for the last 35 years of my life that has been. I just thought it was Who Mourns for Adonis.
That is lots of people, but it's not. Look at how it's spelled. It's Adonais.
Okay,
Not
but what is
Adonis.
that from?
Similar to this episode, it's not of gods and angels as many people thought. It's of gods and angles.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
yeah.
That's true.
But yeah, I
You're
agree.
saying I've been spelling it Los Angles this whole time?
Mugado Gumado.
Who mourns for Adonais?
Las Vegas. What?
Yeah.
Adonis? Adonis?
Everybody's going to Star Trek Las Vegas, right?
Las Vegas.
I
Los
think
Vegas.
we should track
Las
down the
Vegas.
93-year-old writer and like ask him finally.
I guarantee he's dead.
Dig him up.
Yeah, I agree with what y'all have said. This was a delightful episode. There was some fun stuff in there. There wasn't a ton of laugh out loud moments. The one that did get me, though, was at the end with Rutherford, when he said, "Staying true to yourself is wrong. You got to copy someone better." And Tandy saying, "No, that's not the lesson to learn from this." That felt a little 30 Rock to me. It was like it hit my funny bone perfectly. Delightful. All right, everybody. Good night. Just kidding. Let's talk about Ensign Ollie a little bit more. So we've sort of touched on it with our top thoughts, but I thought she was a delightful addition to the crew, having sort of a foil for Mariner, but also a kindred spirit, somebody she could see as like, oh, this person like me not too long ago, just needs somebody who can believe in them. And as we have seen in many iterations of Trek, Starfleet sometimes just gets shit wrong. Like pulling this talented engineer out of engineering because of a couple mistakes was, in fact, the actual mistake. Who has thoughts on Ensign Ollie and Mariner's escapades? Matt, and then Ken.
First of all, it is still pronounced Adonis.
No.
I just checked Google, because it comes from the elegy of the death of John Keats. Apparently, it is. Anyway, my thoughts were that I really loved and I hate. Oh, this is going to sound so pretentious. I hate the subversion of expectations of, oh, this is someone like we finally were in the last, because you also have to remember, like, the people who are writing Star Trek Lower Decks know the people that are watching Star Trek Lower Decks. So I'll honestly, in my head, I was like, oh, they know this is the last season. Like, oh, she gets a mentor that like now she can be the mirror. I loved that they were like, oh, you're not just like me. You're a demigod and you have a different like I really did have to go through this myself. Um, I just thought it was fantastic. I loved that the laurel. This is gonna a stupid thing, but like I love that the laurel leaves are like a physical characteristic of them that they can't just like take them off, and they were glowing even when she was like had the spotlight on the sphere. If you notice, they were still like you could still see them in the darkness. Yeah, no, I thought the two of them together were so much fun, and I would watch a half a dozen more episodes just with them. I thought it was great.
Maybe they're aiming for a spinoff or a backdoor pilot. Who knows? So I
Because
thought it
those
was
have
cool.
always worked well in Star Trek.
Yeah, they're terrible. They never work on Star Trek.
It's like a new Fazoli and Isles or whatever that show is called with Mariner and Ollie.
Yeah, there you go. Kukla Fran and Ollie.
I'd watch it.
We could do that. But so I think I thought her character was interesting, but she was also incredibly annoying. Right? Like she's like just the fact that she was overwhelming Mariner and was sort of showing the growth of Mariner by seeing that Mariners now has to be the adult in the room. I thought that was interesting. I liked that again, the throwing back to the episode that I won't pronounce again correctly. So the fact that it was like that, and again that it wasn't Apollo, it was Zeus. Thought that was cool, and the whole thing about the electricity and that she was able to pull all the electricity out of them. They were just sort of on the floor bouncing around. We have no power. I thought that was great. So she was a really cool character, but also really fucking annoying. The fact that she could shove thunderbolts up people's butts is also pretty cool.
I can do that too.
Those aren't
I
lightning
don't,
bolts.
but I could.
I have no comment on that.
Who else has thoughts about Ensign Ollie's adventure in this episode?
Sorry, as the scorekeeper, I have to also deliver public service announcements. Don't shove anything shaped like a lightning bolt in your butt.
Don't tell me what to do.
Problematic gay alert.
Unless it has a flared base.
It was for the
Problematic
people.
gay alert.
You can work up to it.
Push it again.
Problematic gay alert.
There's a
Push it
delay in the
again.
videos this week.
Making up for lost time.
I have something to say,
Oh.
which is I did not love the character Ollie. I thought she was weakly written. I thought this would have been I thought this would have been a really good episode for like season 2. Like so weirdly, like everybody except me has been complaining about Mariner's lack of growth for the last 5 years. I was okay with her path. For whatever reason, I have the opposite feeling with this one. I feel like this would have been like a really, really valuable learning and growth moment for her in like season 2, when she would have been like, oh, this is what I'm like, oh fuck, but this is like way too late for this kind of story. So that's I think probably the reason that this felt the weakest to me. Yeah,
That was Canadian hostility, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you have no idea.
That was as aggressive.
I'm sorry for the outburst.
Canadian rage.
That is all.
Any other thoughts on Ensign Ollie and Mariner's tomfoolery before we talk about Boimler and Ta'ana?
I only enjoyed it because it made Mariner look so much more evolved and better and further developed and all of that. But yes, she was pretty fucking annoying.
Yeah. The interrogation I thought was funny. But some of the other stuff, I was like, okay, this is just too much. Like, yeah, she would get. It'll be interesting to see if we see her again. All right. Dr. Ta'ana Medicine Feline and her new sidekick. So Boimler, my favorite with this B story is that everybody knows that Boimler has been reading about his alternate self. And like the gag of them just not like the bevels, it was slightly larger pad and not that they it's red. That was really funny, but I just love that they know what he's doing and they don't care. They're his friend and whatever. I do, like I said in my top thoughts, I'm a little bummed out about Boimler being so fixated on how this other Boimler got to where he is rather than just being himself. I'm hoping this being, the last batch of episodes that he's going to get past that soon, because I do love Boimler and I want him to get ahead on his own. But this was super fun. I like getting Dr. Ta'ana back because we've had very little of her this season. I think that bitchy curmudgeon is just delightful every time she's on screen in some crazy fucked up way. In a crew of fuck ups, she's the most fucked up, and it's fun to see her. So those are my thoughts on this bit of the episode thus far. Who has thoughts on Dr. Ta'ana and Boimler's quest to get that lightning bolt out of his ass? I see Trevor.
Yeah, not like this is the weirdest complaint about Lower Decks, but there was too much bleeping for me to figure out what the fuck they were saying. Like, I feel like I missed several jokes because I'm like, wait, what was the thing that got bleeped that's so funny? So I had to actually rewind. Like maybe I'm just old and whatever, but there it is. I mean, I'm gonna own it, but yeah.
I agree. I liked the bleeps generally because I think bleeping itself in a cartoon is pretty fucking hilarious. But when it's overdone and you don't know, like, wait, which fuck word was she saying? It reminds me of a few seasons ago when she said fuck, but the way it got bleeped, some people were like, did she just call him a fag? And it's like, there is no fucking way that this show did that. But it would be fucking hilarious.
It would be allowed to. I would say it's allowed to.
Yes.
Like, it's
1,000%. But also, like, what was her nickname? Like, when he was calling her something, like, I couldn't figure out what he was calling her.
There had to be something pussy. Like, it had to be like, I would assume, because,
But I needed like first letter, last letter.
Yeah.
Audibly.
Yeah.
The group gasp was hilarious, though. The like panning out is I love a group gasp. Oh, and the it's on in the background. The Tendi getting excited and is like, if we get some Ferengi blood, we'll have a full rainbow.
And a disease. These things are filled with fucking diseases or whatever she says.
Rainbow of poison or something.
Yeah. I also really want to point out and love, you guys are talking about the red pad. I love that both Rutherford and Tendi were saying about the bevel on the side of it, but Boimler was obviously focused on the fact that it was red, but also because Rutherford and Tendi would be the only ones that see a red pad fairly often because they use them in engineering. So that also was one of those like I know that they were obviously, they were more focused on the bevel and all that, but like we have seen red pads in engineering before. So it's funny that like Boimler is so far away from being an engineer that it was also like, oh yeah, it's red. And they're like, oh, yeah, I guess. Like, we have those here too. Like,
call him out, Joanne. That's right.
There's also a red pad joke thing to be made, and I'm not going to make.
She's red pad. Yeah. Ew.
It's the closest to a period joke I can make with video.
I'll allow it.
Because it's explosive?
Listen, some people have a heavy flow and a wide set vagina.
Which could be the name of an episode.
Yeah, why isn't that a Lower Decks episode? Why wasn't that this episode?
That was the runner-up name for this podcast.
That is, yeah, it was. Heavy flow and wide set vagina. Oh, yeah. Wait, Ken,
See
figured
what
out our
happens when the
podcast
two
name.
women in this crew
Oh,
don't
yeah,
show up.
that's it. That's it. Yep.
I'm
Yeah.
heavy flow. You're wide set vagina.
No,
Okay, I'm wide set
that's
vagina.
your own
you're heavy flow.
podcast. You guys keep talking about doing your own thing. Do that in your own safe space, not in mine.
Oh, I see.
Gross.
We are in Stanley.
Not
everyone.
what they're referencing. That they're taking it on as nicknames for their male selves. Gross.
Also, with the
Anyway,
rest.
we need more women to be part of the salon. FYI,
We
'cause
do.
When two of them can't show up, this happens.
This happens. Oh, what are we gonna do?
I'm sorry, Joanne. I'm so sorry.
Well, you have the link. You can come kick all their asses.
We're in trouble next time.
Oh, yes, we sure are.
I can just hear Joanne.
Good thing next time is
What
Thanksgiving.
the hell?
What the hell? Yeah, exactly. Yep. So
I'm
what's next,
crying.
fearless leader? What's up, Doc?
I'm trying to recover. Drink some water, Ken.
Go for a walk.
Or coffee.
No,
or
What else
or-
have we-
What
What else about this? I'm just gonna
What?
click there. All right. What about this episode have we not touched on yet? Does anybody have questions in the chat? We're only at 46 minutes. We need to fill 14
fill it.
minutes.
They're touched
I
on.
feel like this was like one of those times where there was maybe they were disrupted by the writer's strike or something. So they like did like a quick rewrite to a season 2 script and like made a show around it just to save time. Because even like the Boimler stuff, just like with the Mariner stuff, I was finding like this also seems like a good storyline for a season 2 Boimler who has not had character growth yet. Because this seems like significant backtracking for his character to be this obsessed with something. Like I expect him to be past this at this point, and he's not. So it's just like the whole episode to me felt like, to me it's like the perfect mate, which is my least favorite episode of TNG because I feel like it was like a season 1 or 2 script that was made in season 5, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Talin was good. Talin is always good.
Lynn is always good.
Yes.
Lynn was fantastic.
Yeah, could
Also-
have had more. Could have had more.
Yes,
Stan,
that's true.
Joanne's comment is.
This one, or
I'm just-
yeah.
I'm
Wait,
just
Joanne, are you
picturing
talking
her.
about this
Good.
episode of Lower Decks or this episode of the Salon?
Two things can be true at once.
Yes.
Don't limit Joanne. She can do both. I just also appreciate that I can just picture her going, like, being silent this entire time, and just before we end, I thought this episode was terrible.
Yeah.
And that's all she has to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
And push some kind of button.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, did you guys talk about the AI Kirk thing already? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we don't
You
don't
can
need
talk
that.
about it, Matt. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, wait, no,
Yes,
it's Stan's show.
no,
Sorry,
yes,
sorry.
yes.
Stan, go ahead.
Yes, Matt, go ahead and share your thoughts on it, because sure.
No, I didn't know if we had already talked about it. I don't have a lot of thoughts. I thought it was weird. I thought it was very artistic. And I'm glad. I am assuming Shatner paid for it himself because it was all about him. So that's what I have. It was
Shatner-
fun.
and
It was
If you
fun.
don't let me just move on, you get criticism of your
I
favorite
know. I'm
thing this week.
disappointed. I'm disappointed in Commodore
I
Rick.
didn't like. I thought it was fun that he like, oh, we're going through Kirk's mind, and oh, he's like was thinking about himself young and then mid and now old, and like, and oh, we're meeting Spock again. What did it do? What did
It was
do?
Shatner autofellatio.
It was literally that. It felt like he commissioned someone to film himself just jacking off onto Star Trek before he dies. Like, I'm sorry, it was unnecessary. It was meaningless. He didn't talk. It meant nothing. He has met Spock dying so many times. The only good part about the entire thing was Robin Curtis, and even she didn't seem like she wanted to be there. So, Like, it was fine and it
Wow,
was
Matt, we can no
artsy.
longer be friends.
I'm sorry. It was artsy and fine, and I'm glad that I watched it. But it just didn't seem like it meant anything. I'm sorry. That's my true feeling.
It did teach us all a very important lesson, which is write down what you want done with your image after you die in your will.
And maybe your family will still sell you out because they were still okay with this, and he didn't want.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got a great Simpsons reference in the chat from Benji.
Absolutely.
So very tired.
Again.
The scary
with the
thing is there
filler.
actually was a Star Trek 12.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the amazing
Yep.
thing.
Well, it's the
Good about
Simpsons. The Simpsons predict almost everything.
Yep.
Unfortunately,
Simpsons
almost
did it.
everything. Yeah. So
So here's a question. Do we think that the season arc of the space holes was definitely nothing about it in this episode, or does anybody think that perhaps there is some relation to this nebula or photonic energy that we might see in a couple of weeks, or is this just the filler episode for the season?
I'm wondering if Ollie doesn't play a part in some sort of hole repair situation.
She's going to help close it or help fix whatever it is. I think that's what. Yeah.
She did fill Boimler's hole in this episode, so she
I
has
was going to
experience.
say. I mean, is it really called space holes? Is that the subplot?
Yes,
it is now.
That's what that's what they've called it. I'm
I
not just being my usual flippant self. That's what they called it.
And not to beat a dead Vulcan, but JP camera guy, I'm sure that Nimoy granted permission for his image to be used in Star Trek. I don't know that he was like, yes, put me next to the guy that I can't stand. That's my only point.
Again, I think he would have been fine using it in Star Trek. I don't think he would have been fine in using it in Kirk's jack-off holosuite.
Correct. Okay, back to space holes.
Back to the space holes. And in a way, we never left.
I mean, Ollie sounds like a pretty big MacGuffin. Like, I would be disappointed if that was, unless they find a clever way to use her. I've noticed, like, previously when they did a season-long arc, they would, like, take, like, 1 or 2 episodes as a complete break from the backstory, just to, so they're not doing it every episode. So I think that's what happened here. Yeah.
Are we suggesting that it was foreshadowing that the lightning bolt went into Boimler's hole?
That would be fucking hilarious. I don't think that's what it is, but it would be a hilarious.
I'm sorry, Joanne's comment.
Yes.
Ollie pegged Boimler, basically. Yeah.
It was an accidental pegging, but who hasn't been there?
Yes, who among us hasn't accidentally pegged a friend or two?
Let he who without sin mourn
Ruin
for
the first
Adonis.
lightning bolt.
Mourn
for Adonis.
Don't reference bad work episodes, please.
Adonis. Shatner's jack-off holodeck thing. Don't ever speak to me again.
It was. He got fucking Sam Witwer to do his. Okay, you're thinking a lot of yourself here.
What's Sam Witwer in?
He was Kirk in that thing.
Yeah. Well, besides that,
he was in other stuff before that. Like I know the name and I looked at.
Isn't he the voice of Darth Maul in Clone Wars?
Maybe.
Oh, maybe.
He's a lot of voices in a lot of things.
Here's another thing that I wanted to say. Here was something that really irritated the piss out of me today.
And another thing.
I did have a couple shots before this, but I don't know. I'm sure no one else noticed. I accidentally stumbled across it today. That Terry Metalis was like blowing loads on the fact that they did this live. It was Shatner next to him, and they superimposed it real time. This isn't AI, and it's like, shut the entire fuck up. We can tell that they took the face and just put it on like every other AI fucking video right now. Like, he put this whole video out that was like, oh, here's the 2 monitors next to each other and they're superimposing it. This is happening in a whole new way. And it's like, shut the entire, like, it's so obvious that
Like,
Did
it doesn't
Matt
matter
just-
that. Go.
Did Matt just trigger another shut up Patty LaPone? But it's now going to
Yes.
be shut up Terry Metalis.
shut up, Terry Metalis.
And well, somebody needs to tell him.
But seriously, it was like, oh, everyone's criticizing the AI. This wasn't AI. This is a live in prod.
It
And I'm
doesn't.
like,
It doesn't. It doesn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what technology they use. It's about like the person's image that they're using, and so like shit on AI all you want, but it's like less about that. I think like AI makes it faster and easier to do that, certainly, but they still, use somebody's image. They de-age somebody. They use someone's image without their consent or in a way that they didn't want. That's what it has to do with. That's why we don't like AI.
well, and it, like, if you're using AI to take shortcuts with actual artists, like, I am actually all for AI, even if it was used in the sense, if you were going to take AI to de-age Brent Spiner, season 1, Star Trek Picard, to a way that looked like Brent Spiner in TNG, like, I would have supported that, because I'd like, clearly no one could do it without AI because it didn't look good. So like, if you can make it look even better than that with a computer, that's fine, because you still have to have someone go through it, frame, like, and do all that. My thing is, when you're trying to say like, oh, this isn't AI, just admit that we have new tools now and that people are still using them, and that you're not cutting people's jobs for using them. That's my thing. I don't know if that made sense, but
And that's been
Well,
Matt Does AI. For those
no, it's
New
like
topic.
Matt was doing Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I guess is what it sounded like.
Nobody
His
gets that
head-
reference, Ken. Stop trying. New topic. Hit that mute button. Where do we think this is going? What are folks looking forward to seeing next week on Star Trek Lower Decks?
more holes.
Benji, more holes?
I mean, if it's this episode, it's going nowhere. I have no idea where the holes are going.
I hope we get back to the plot. I hope we get some like more like some episodes that maybe are a little more interconnected. Something more with the plot if there is one. And maybe if the space holes are not like a regular thing, it's just a reference to the prior episode, then that's fine. But we need to get back to the good episodes.
Holy space anomalies, Boimler.
Indeed.
I'm ready to find out what the fuck Harry Kim has to do with this season.
Oh yeah. I forgot that he was going to show
Maybe
up.
he's the space hole.
I was happy to forget that.
There was a time where I like that would have been delightful. But you never mind. I'm just gonna stop while I'm ahead.
Problematic gay alert.
All right, I think we've vamped enough. Trevor, how
Take
about
the
you
rest
give
of the season.
us the tallies?
Okay, but I still have margarita left. All right, I'll bring us in for a landing. There were only 4 tosser alerts, though we did have one that lasted about 6.5 minutes. So I think that's a record. There were 4 problematic gay alerts, and there was 1 emergency saucer or explosive saucer separation. I gave 25,000 bonus points to Ken for somehow making matzo balls sexual. I gave him an additional 100 for edging, or was it edges? I'm not sure. 500 to Will for embracing the F slur. Minus 6,000 to Matt for getting Idoneus wrong for over 2 decades, including this evening. 1,000,000 bonus points to Joanne for being a Bob. If you read her comment, you know what it means. Hi, Bob. Cheers, girl. And 12,500 bonus points to Benji for yelling in Canadian.
Delightful as always. Quick plug for all of the other ways to enjoy this chaos. We've got a website, salontrek.com. We're here on YouTube. Please be sure that you are subscribed. Tell your family, tell your friends. We are also on Spotify. We've got a fun Patreon, patreon.com/salontrek. There's a free community tier that we're going to be expanding to have some fun engagement moving forward. But we also have a $2 and a $5 tier. The $5 tier, we actually recorded 2 bonus episodes this month. Our commentary on Darmok and Everybody's Comfort episode, The Big Goodbye, both from the Next Generation. So check those out at the $5 level. We really appreciate it. It helps defray the costs of the salon. And we are in social places. Yes, we're still on Twitter for now, but we are also on Blue Sky, and we're kind of blowing up on Blue Sky, as is everybody right now. But still, I'm going to take it. A win is a win. We have had an increase in over 800 follow. We were at, let me say it again. Last Friday, we were at 78 followers. We are now over 800. It's really exciting to see people want to follow along in this chaos. So please follow us on Blue Sky, like and share our posts, engage with us so we get this chaos in front of more eyeballs. We appreciate you. We will be back next week for the next episode of Star Trek Lower Decks. And until then, we hope you all live long and prosper.
All hands abandon ship. Proceed to the nearest evacuation zone immediately.